My wife and son said, go have fun with your friend. They told me yesterday, like, oh, you're going to have fun with your friend doing your little book study. When
Yeah.
they woke up and they heard me like yelling and doing sound effects and the rap air horn and from
Yep.
the last episode, and they were like, that doesn't sound like work at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty much my life.
Exactly. You're listening to the Learnings and Missteps podcast, where we intend to change the image of careers in the trades. We celebrate the real men and women who have built careers in the construction industry by bringing their personal stories straight to you. I began my career as a plumber's apprentice in the late 1900s. Over the last 26 years, I've had the fortune of meeting some of the most resilient, intelligent, and inspiring people who happen to be construction workers. My career path as a plumber has provided me with experiences and opportunities I thought were inaccessible. And I want you to know that the trades are a place where dreams can come true. These stories are brought to you by three brothers who share a mother. I am Jesse, your host. Our in-house writer is Ernest, aka La Voz.
Hello.
And our co-host, Renee.
What's up?
Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Dale.
Oh, yeah, you made it back for Calabosession number 2 between Felipe Engineer Manriquez, host of the EBFC show, and myself. We're going to be going over chapter 2 of the Lean Builder. And I'm dealing out some trade partner fire. And through that conversation, you're going to get our perspective on respect. And as we bounce back and forth from the book and from our ideas, we serve up some tactics that you can take and apply right now. Even though we do all the talking, Felipe and I do have some experience facilitating. So naturally, we sprinkle around a bunch of facilitator tips. So strap in, get your notepad, and enjoy the show. And one last thing. We've set up a Patreon account for those of you who want to further contribute to our mission of changing the image of careers in the trades. Signing up at patreon.com/learnings and missteps will get you access to exclusive content and your names in the opening credits of the video versions of these episodes. Yeah, you heard me right. We got that fire for you, baby, on YouTube. Love y'all, and here we go.
So much smoother. Welcome to the studio.
Yes, Jesus Durón Delgado Hernández Jr. de los Courts. Like
Híjole. Somebody was saying the other day about kids that get in trouble in school. What do they grow up to become? Hello, they grow up to become us, Jesse.
You got it 100%. I have, a lot of friends that I went to school with. They have children now, and they're like, I get to see their kids, and they're like, man, they're just like you. I said, hell yeah, they're gonna be kicking butt at some point.
I was a pretty okay kid in grade school. I hit my mark in high school when my parents threatened to let me work with them when I got out of school, and that's when I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to college.
Yeah.
But one of the kids that I was tutoring in like 5th grade or 4th grade, he made it through high school, but barely. Became an entrepreneur because he just had a lot of trouble listening to other people. He became a multi-millionaire like in less than 5 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure there's research on this, but my theory is the students that get straight A's, of what I feel like that conditions people, not everybody, but a bunch of them, to like a heavy need for direction. And so they'll follow direction very well, and they absolutely have to have the right answer. And the kids like me, the C's or whatever, all I need to do is pass to play. They just kind of figure out what needs to be done to get to where they want to get. And as after you get out into the real world, that skill of being able to figure things out and test things and put it into action and deal with the consequences is a huge skill.
So my elementary school education is just like that.
Really?
B's and C's, some A's. High school, straight A's.
Nice.
Straight A's high school, valedictorian. College, back to B's and C's.
Yep.
College whipped my butt. It was tough. I did 6 years of hard time. That's like getting your apprenticeship.
For real. I mean, I've got some credits from night school. Yeah, actually I did better going to night school than I did high school. But in high school, it was, my primary goal was to finish first. So we were
Yeah.
taking a test, and that means I win either way. So if I
Right.
finish the test first, I beat everybody. And then if I got a passing grade or the highest grade, like I spanked them double time.
Yeah, then after working for a couple decades, I went back and got my master's,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like back in high school mode, just getting perfect grades. I
Yeah,
wanted to win too, super
of
competitive. I was
course.
like, I wanted to know what the teacher knew. We need
Yep.
all the people. I just told my wife the other day, some people are obsessed, like our friend Jason, he's obsessed with eliminating variation, and I'm
Yes.
obsessed with appreciating variation.
And my obsession is enjoying the learning, helping people enjoy their path as they're learning this stuff, because conceptually, it always sounds great, right? You go to the seminar, like, yeah, that sounds awesome. We need
Yeah.
to do that. But the actual application of it is not as shiny. My obsession is meeting people where they're at and walking them through it. And it may take longer, but they're going to have more fun.
Nothing wrong with it taking long.
Man, that's what I'm
You can
saying.
only you can only go at the speed that they can go. I was thinking for this one, because you never know how people are catching these episodes. Some people are methodical, they'll go in order. And
Yes.
some people are going to be random, and then they'll
Yes.
complain, and they might even leave a negative comment.
You better hit me hard, baby. You want me to kick it off?
You should go first since you're older than me. Age before
Oh, wait a
age
minute.
before beauty.
How
Go
old
ahead,
are
old
you?
man.
Hold on, hold
I'm
on.
only
You go ahead.
Go ahead, old man. I'm only 41.
Oh shit. Okay, you're right. So age and beauty before youth. I think I'm 43. I'll be 44 in December. Son of a gun. And then to be,
Dude.
oh man, look at that. I'm
Yeah.
blessed. All right, so Jesse Hernandez here. I'm host of the Learnings and Missteps podcast, accomplice of Felipe Engineer Manriquez, and kind of a lean maniac.
Oh, I like that, Jesse. My name is Felipe Engineer Manriquez, host of the EBFC show, an accomplice of Jesse. Definitely also put myself in that category, a lean maniac. I like that. Really like
Yeah.
that, Jesse. Lean
Yeah,
maniac.
he's a maniac, maniac. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we got some obsessions,
Yes.
like respecting folks,
Oh, yeah.
addiction to learning. That's why we're up early reading a book. It's not a child's book either. It's not bedtime
No,
stories.
no.
Kids, untuck yourselves because this is not for children.
Yes, we are addicted to learning, but I think back, my 18-year-old self would beat me up to wake up on a Saturday morning to read a book. It's very contradictory to who I was back in the day.
Why
Yes.
are we here?
Yeah, so we're here to talk through this awesome book, The Lean Builder. Simple, easy, got to do it. But we want to talk about, I guess, for two perspectives. What I am attempting to offer the audience is the perspective of a trade partner, having been a plumber from 1995 to, I don't know, what was it, 2018, 2019. I was on the
Well,
plumbing side of the business. And love to hear the perspective of the general contractor.
thank you, Jesse. I've been a general contractor, recovering general contractor since like 2000. So it's
Nice.
easy math for me.
Mm-hmm.
20, 21 years roughly. 22 years if I throw in some internship time. It's funny how we did chapter 1. The things that we see and have in common to me are just fascinating. And I wrote notes as I go through this, like, Jesse's got something good here. Those are the kind of notes that are in my book. And I marked my book up. I've got post-it notes all over it. I penciled it up because this is my copy. So if somebody ever find this copy of my book in the future, they'll be like, wow, this guy is kind of weird. The way he thinks.
Yep, yep. They don't need the evidence.
Yeah. So yeah, today we're covering chapter 2, visual
Yes.
communication.
Dun,
Our
dun.
hero is Sam. My hero is his mentor, Alan Phillips. Shout out to my tocayo. That's what I told Joe. He didn't deny it, but he didn't say it was true either. Yeah, I want to thank Joe and Keon for putting together such a wonderful work for Jesse and I to spend so much time with. I think we have more than 2 hours of recording on chapter 1.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna do 2 chapters. We'll see what this one does to us. So I got to listen to that episode of you interviewing Joe. I will bear witness that Joe silently agreed that Alan is named after you.
Yeah, I basically made that joke to Joe, and he just
Mhm.
looked at me, had a slight little smile, and then just we moved on to the next topic. I know what that silence means, Joe. It means
Yep.
yes all day.
Yes, every time.
Cool, Jesse. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, we're on visual management, right? And he starts off, reaching out to Alan because he's struggling. He just rolled out daily huddles, and the honeymoon phase is over, and they're having some challenges. The one big thing that stood out to me, it's not explicit in the book, but the one big thing is every single trade partner, they refer to them by name. Back to what you said earlier, right, about respect. I've been the duration of my career, I've been the turd herder. Turd herder, you're up. Turd herder, what are you working? Like, I didn't have a name. The GCs wouldn't call me by name. And it's something I get to witness when coaching teams that are early on in their path, is they don't learn the names of the people. They'll call them by Sparky or Tin Bender, or they just don't know people's names and wonder, why aren't people engaged? Why aren't they out? Like, well, hell, you don't even know their name, fool. Like, call them by their name. That's that's important,
I like that. Listen up, general contractors. Stop
Right.
acting a fool. Jesse's
Yes.
dropping down the first gauntlet.
Come on, baby. Know their
Come
name. I
on.
mean, for real. Like, you're spending, hopefully you're going to be spending less after you practice some of this stuff, but you're spending 10, 12, 16 hours a day with these human beings, and you don't know their damn name? Like, I mean, I know
Yeah.
you got responsibility, but you ain't that damn important, because if you fall out, guess what? You're getting replaced quick. Cheat code, put names on people's hard hats. That'll help you learn their names. I mean, do
Cheat code,
something, baby. Jeez.
yeah, I like that cheat code. I didn't think about that cheat code.
Yes, it works.
Yeah, a friend of mine works for a general contractor too, a small general contractor, but they're way down the lean journey. They hand out name tag stickers for every meeting, and they're always calling people by their first name. And that was something that I learned from her. Shout out to Melanie, powerful Melanie. Yeah, Melanie had that practice and made a massive difference. And I could tell you, Jesse, like, you'll be shocked, or maybe not shocked. I've been to probably over 100 design meetings.
Mhm.
So it's just all the white collar folks, the professionals. It's the same thing. Architect, electrical engineer, mechanical,
Yep.
structural. What do you think? I was like, structural what is that? It's not a person. I was helping a team. They were having a problem, and they're like, just come to the meeting and try to help to facilitate. And then we have a couple of design assist partners from the trades, and I'm listening to how people are calling each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just all calling each other by the name of their company.
Yeah.
And I started saying, hold on a second, what's your name? Okay. And I told people in the beginning, as a facilitator, I'm going to use your first name
Yeah.
so that you know that I'm actually talking to you. When I first did it, Jesse's totally by accident. We used to have multiple people come from the same company. So you couldn't just say, the GC's name, because the GC had like 15 people in the meeting. So just out of a necessity to talk to people individually and call people out. And a lot of the times in the feedback, people say, I like it that you called us by name. And I was just thinking like, okay, good. But when you mentioning it now, it makes me realize I started thinking back in my mind, what you're describing is normal. Like, we don't call people by name on the normal.
Right.
And one of the things Joe said, until he had that transformation himself, when he learned about lean, he didn't think to call people by name either.
Mm-hmm.
So the system we grow up in, like, you think about your first job.
Yep.
Over the span of your career, did it ever switch the whole time you were in plumbing, or did it not switch until you switched?
I can answer that this way. In my career, before I left the trade partner and changed over to the dark side, working with the GC, there were three jobs that I ever worked on in my entire career. So since 1995 to 2019, what is that? 24 years, something like that.
I'll do the math for you while you tell your
please.
story.
I could, if I had a measuring tape, I could do the math, but I don't have it with me. There were 3 projects that I worked on that I felt respected, that had flow, and that we had fun on. 3. And as a trade partner, And I was on 5 to 6 projects a year.
25 years. So doing your math, that's 100 projects roughly.
Yes.
25 years, 100 projects, less than 3% is
Yep.
where you got your name used
Well,
properly.
and on one of those projects, and I think it was a term of endearment. He was a retired superintendent, and he came out of retirement to do this project as a favor for the project manager. He never called me by my name, but I had a special name. He wouldn't come find me. He'd just scream out of. We were on a MOB finish out, and so it was just this big long shell space. And he'd roll his chair out of his desk and scream out, "Hey, you little son of a bitch!" And everybody knew he was talking to me. But he
My
and I had
goodness.
we had a relationship.
But it was warm. It was warm.
Warm. It was warm, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, but it wasn't disrespectful, right? I mean, it may sound disrespectful, but we communicated that way. It was cool. The other two, again, it was, "Jesse, how you doing, man? Like, are you the plumber here?" I remember specifically. He's like, "I know you're a plumber, but it seems like you're doing something different." I said, "Yeah, I'm the superintendent." And so what that meant was I was responsible for supporting the plumbing, the HVAC, the duct work, and the piping. And so I'm like, "No, man, like I'm in charge. Like I'm the guy that you get to yell at for everything." He's like, "Okay, cool,
Nice.
even better."
Convenient.
Yeah, exactly. But he
You
knew
just
me by
saved me
name.
two names, Jesse.
Yeah.
I don't have to learn two other names.
Now that I'm thinking, another weird thing was when they knew my name, like on those 3 jobs, first I got a lot of phone calls from them. To contrast that, the other projects, when I was a foreman or superintendent, that they didn't know my name, they didn't bother to learn my name. I didn't get a whole lot of phone calls. I got a lot of emails, and the rest of the damn world was copied on those emails. So there was a
Of
lot of
course.
like unnecessary chaos. And with the other folks, the 3 gentlemen that I got to work with, yeah, they called me all the time, but they didn't add drama to the damn situation. They just called me and say, "Hey, man, we're slipping on sheet metal. We're supposed to be here. What's going on?" "Okay, I'm on my way. We'll assess the situation and do what we need to do." So, yeah, it started with the name. That seems like a small thing, but really, they respected me enough to trust me and not bring in the whole entire world to small baby situations, which reinforced that positive relationship, right? We got those keyboard warriors out there that, man, they love to use very strong language and copy the world, like people you've never even met. And all that
Yeah.
does is add it's just waste. It's waste. It's static. It ain't worth it, man.
And their bravery seems to go up, Jesse, after work hours when
Ooh,
you're not there. You
dude,
ever
I
notice
swear.
that? Those
Oh
keyboard
man.
warriors, they come to life when the work is over and people have gone home and you can't defend yourself. They're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the same tribe as the people on the internet that make anonymous comments on people.
Yeah, it's funny. So I have 2 sides of that story. I've met people like in person after receiving those nasty emails from them, and I'm like, "You ever seen Roadhouse with
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze?"
Yeah.
And they say, "Man, I thought you'd be bigger." That's exactly like, "I thought you'd be bigger. You're like my size. Jeez, get out of here." And this is a real thing, right? This is not to say that everybody's a jerk because they use email, but email, it doesn't matter. You can text, email, and there's just words. And most of the time, almost all the time, I'm smiling. So when I send a message via email or text,
Hmm.
it's a happy one. But people have a tendency to fill up the blank space with their assumptions and their insecurities, and then they get offended. So one person met me, and they were like, "Man, who's this freaking Jesus guy? He's a pain in the ass, man. He's a smack talking son of a gun." And I'm like, "Jesus?" He's like, "Yeah." And he showed me the email. Well, my most people know me as Jesse, but my email signature is Jesus Jesse D. Hernandez Jr. I'm
Yeah.
like, "That's me, dude." He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Well, dude, why are you being like that?" I said, "No, man, I was just, it was a follow up. Like we had this discussion today on site. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You committed to do W. That was just a follow up." He's like, "Yeah, but it sounded harsh." I'm like, "Okay, now that you know it's me, how harsh is it?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess you're right." Like, so I would give him, little practice of, hey, bro, I'm going to send a follow-up email. Are you okay with that? Yeah, that's good. Just to kind of
Yeah,
buffer that kind of weirdness, because we don't need that. The work's hard enough. We don't
it
need
is.
the personal relationship challenges that we add to it.
That's so true, Jesse. Talk to people, know who it is first so you can get their tone.
Yeah,
It goes
for
back to
sure.
that trust, like in the book here, when he's talking to Alan at the beginning of this chapter about how things are going. He's reluctant even to tell Alan that it's not going well. And Alan knows because he can just read his face because he knows him,
Right,
right? If he
right.
sent him an email, I think he did actually send him an email and said we need to meet, and that didn't convey like where he was because it's just not a rich enough channel of communication.
Absolutely. And we're social creatures. And
Yeah,
we need connection as much as we want to deny that. We absolutely need that connection. And what's a good way to connect? By name.
yeah. Dale Carnegie was onto some magic when he wrote How to Win
Oh,
Friends and Influence People.
yep.
The most magical, sweetest sounding word in the entire English language is the first name of the person you're talking to. Dale was onto something.
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
Jason
so
likes that book too.
oh man, Jason, dude, that guy, he shared with me a list of books, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure I read them all. No, I mean, I read a whole bunch of the books that he recommended, but there's some books in there like, ooh, okay, I need to add that to the list. And that's what's awesome about building relationships in the industry.
Right.
You've recommended several books to me that have added value. Jason's recommended some books that have added value. A lot of people recommend books, but they don't always land for me the way they landed for them.
Right.
So I kind of filter by the source. I always consider the source. Who's recommending this book? Oh, Felipe. All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah. And
Uh,
Jesse, I tend to, because people ask me for book recommendations constantly.
yep.
And I always tell people, like, I don't know you well enough to recommend a book yet. Because there are still books that I've read on my bookshelf behind me, Jesse, that I've yet to recommend to anyone.
Right.
Because I just haven't met that person that would land with.
Sometimes it's a little further than what they're ready for, what they may even be interested in. But you know what? I'll recommend a book,
Do it.
The Lean Builder. You like
The
that?
lean build. Oh man, you caught me
Yeah.
by surprise. I didn't
Yeah.
think you were gonna go there.
We're
Yeah,
on the same wavelength, baby.
this is a really good book. I'm proud of Joe and
Yeah, man.
Keon.
It's great. The industry needed it badly. So they filled a real gap that's going to help a bunch of people.
Well, man, now I've anchored on your percentage of jobs over your career in
Yep.
plumbing where people actually treated you the way that Alan and Philip are trying to do in this book, Jesse, and
Yes.
it sounds dreadful.
Ooh.
And I'm thinking back in my career too, and I mean, I used to get made fun of all the time for being so weird and different, but where that came from in construction for me is that I went to school for electrical engineering, and we're working on jobs where you're primarily dominated by civil engineers, and now lately, the last decade, it's been a lot of construction managers. So like I've never fit in. I've been like an outsider all the time. So as an
Hmm.
outsider, you come at it a little bit differently to survive. So I was just lucky that I was an outsider, and
Yeah.
I didn't come at it like so many other people that had all these other environmental things that they just like could click into. I
Yep.
didn't wasn't aware of those things.
You bring a good point. It may sound like we're bashing or that I'm bashing general contractors. I completely understand that it's a function of conditioning. It's an environment that they came into young, and the accepted, or rather the behavior that was being displayed is exactly what you're going to emulate. That's how children learn. They
Yeah.
mimic or mock whatever they see. And so it's the same situation. So for a lot of folks, it is a difficult, painful switch to transition from I must know all to hey, let's build this plan together. That's a scary place to go for a lot of people. So what I would offer is, first of all, you can't know everything. And secondly, you don't have to. Let us help you. I'm sure you know people out there that feel the immense pressure to know everything and to always have the right answer. And that's a self-imposed pressure. You don't need, like, let it go. You don't have to.
Hmm.
But again, that's a matter of the conditioning. It's a matter of the environment that the industry is mostly. I think you and I have the fortune of working for some amazing organizations, and the type of work that we do allows us to have a very different experience that is
Yes,
not the norm. Both of these organizations were there too. It was shut up and get it done.
it absolutely is. And even here in the book, you can see in Sam, as he's talking to Alan, when they give him a little bit of inner dialogue, he is really concerned that he doesn't know how he's going to get this job turned around. He doesn't know how he's going to make up time. And he's not even thinking to ask the people that he's hired to
Yes.
help him achieve it. It doesn't even cross his mind. Never does it cross his mind.
Yeah, he believes it's his. Yeah, he talked about, I guess on page 29, third to last paragraph, he talks about he has to do most of the talking, and people sit down and their phones come out, and I've seen that, right? I'm guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that too. I mean, I've done it to the point where I'd go to meetings, to these, huddles, as an assessment with the team, with my foreman, right? The foreman for each trade, and say, oh, okay, this is one of those butt chewing sessions, or the superintendent whose schedule was at the tip of their finger, who
Yeah.
daily would say, you're working here, you're working here. And so after that, I tell the guys, like, okay, y'all don't have to come to this meeting anymore because you're not getting anything out of it, and we need to get work done. I'll come to the meeting and take the lashings for us. But the thought I had, right, is that Sam's having to do all the talking. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
people are disengaged. And I think that's an opportunity for ownership. That's what I wrote down. What's your part in it? Yes, everybody's contributing to the problem, but what is your part in that dynamic? If you've never asked a question and you haven't set expectations and never created a venue for people to speak, why would they speak? They wouldn't. Then you're saying, well, trade partners just don't want to talk. Like, no, believe me, after that meeting, they're going to go outside the trailer and they're going to work it out, like
Yeah.
without you. But you
Without
just
you.
don't, yeah,
Absolutely.
you don't create the space for them to talk collaboratively. It is a behavior that everybody has to learn. That's my point.
Yeah. And this chapter is all about visual communication. And that meeting with Foreman, that's one of the things that I look at when I go engage with teams as well. And if you see the superintendent just grandstanding and soapboxing, or any one trade as well, because I've seen
Yes.
sometimes you get some strong leadership in the trades, and they can kind of take over an entire meeting to the detriment of everybody else that's got to, work in before them or after them. That's the part that people don't see, like how interrelated they are. One of the very wise old superintendents that I work with, and he was, he'd had probably 40 years of experience. And he used to say this thing to me. He's like, "You're so smart." If he ever heard anyone complain, he'd
Mm-hmm.
say, He's like, "You know what? You are so smart. You're so smart. You hired that person." So every
Yes.
time he would turn it around on you, Jesse,
Yep.
if you could try to complain about one of the trades, he would remind you that you hired that trade.
Yes. Yes.
And he used to say, he's like, "It's a race to the finish line." He's like, "Except that you're playing the wrong kind of race. You think that
Right.
you have to cross first." He's like, from the owner's perspective, you don't win the race until every person on the team crosses the finish line.
Right. It's not us against them. It's us. We complete this together. You said something a little while ago that reminded me of awakening I had as a result of practicing the last planner system. And the awakening I had was I didn't understand that we were interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the furthest concept or furthest idea from my mind. After a couple of iterations, a couple jobs of like seeing the general contractor do it, because when I learned it, we were doing it internally. So mechanical contractor, plumbing, piping, sheet metal, we would do pull plans, create our whole plan using the last planner system, but it was in-house, it was just us. Whether the GC was doing it or not, we just knew that it was going to provide a lot of value for us so that we weren't tripping all over ourselves and looking like goofballs. But when we started doing it with GCs, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, here I am trying to win the race by myself,
Yeah.
and it's hard. But if I take into account, the electricians and the framers and the drywallers, that's actually going to help me smooth things out. And so it was a big awakening for me, like, oh, okay, we can help each other be better and have more fun. It took a while. I mean, like a couple of years. Like I had the awakening, but I still had that, I'm going to get you. I got here first, right?
Right.
So it took a couple of years for me to break that habit and start really planning and throttling back whenever I needed to. And what that did was it created the space for me to amping up whenever I needed to and have better results, right? Minimize rework and minimize moving material 3,000 times. It was magical.
Just like Alan, he listens out to everything Sam says. He doesn't tell him like he's doing badly. He
Right.
doesn't say anything really negative, which is nice because, you know, they're in this coaching relationship and Sam is he's in a vulnerable state. Sometimes, Jesse, people with the knowledge come at you with the right knowledge, but the way they come at you turns you off.
Oh, yeah. You've seen that, huh?
Oh, yeah. I've done that once.
Once,
Or
good,
twice.
good. Once or twice, yeah.
Or a million times. It's very delicate when you're in that situation, especially when you know something. And like you and I, we've had a lot of learnings from manufacturing. So we see things in flow that is not as obvious to people in construction because there's not this like clear as day assembly line. You can step back once you recognize how to see flow or lack thereof. You'll see things that pretty much everyone else on the job can't see because they're in it.
Yes, they're in
When you're
it.
in
They're
it, you
too
can't
close to see it.
And this is where I think Alan is like really encouraging. And instead of like putting a big giant plan on Sam and describing anything, he just says, I'll see you at your job. Right? He's like, I'll see you at your job. I've got something. And doesn't even preview nothing. He's just like, I'm just going to come and I'm just going to show you.
Yep.
Because telling you is not going to be enough. And I thought that was a great transition on visual communication. Like, I can use a bunch of noise with my mouth, or I can just show you that I'm talking about this book.
That's a great book. We ought to recommend it to some people.
Yeah, if you're out there, I think especially project managers. Project managers, if you ever had a disagreement with the superintendent, this is a great book to get in their head with. So you can understand their perspective. Because I think, you know, there are probably, in the world, Jesse, there are probably more project managers than superintendents.
I would agree. There's a bunch.
I've been on some jobs where there are like 5 PMs and 1 superintendent. I'm like, wow, that superintendent is impressive.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
It isn't.
Yeah, you know, you got me all spun up with that word. So
Which one? Project manager?
Yes, the word manager, right? Or the combination of those words. And, you know, again, I talked a little bit about conditioning, and now we're talking about project management. And so those two words together suggest, plainly say, my job, my role is to manage the project. And if I think about the people that on the career path and now they're at the project manager level, at some point in their career, they were solely responsible for processing and managing things. As you elevate, now you're responsible for developing or guiding people. But the skill set required to do either one of those are extremely different. And so you get promoted because you're very efficient at processing things, and now you're dealing with people and you try to be efficient with people, and it doesn't work that way. That's like a real tripping point for a lot of people out there. I see them in that role, and man, they're smart, right? They're sharp. They know how to make things happen. But when it comes to dealing with people, they got a long way to go. Practicing lean stuff absolutely is going to help that. But I think organizations, especially in our industry, can make an investment towards, okay, how do we develop their capabilities around or develop their emotional intelligence? Because they're not managing things anymore. They're managing, there's people that they've got to lead and guide. And since you have 5 of them on the job, how about taking one out every month to help them build that skill?
Yeah, how about it? How about it, Joe and Keon? We're a third of the way into the book, and there's not even a hint of a project manager yet.
Unconscious bias.
Yeah, Joe. Sometimes I make jokes because the last thing I did before I flipped into this role, Jesse, was I was a project manager. Yeah, and I remember having a senior project manager above me and directors above me multiple times, and a lot of times they'd be like trying to tell me, because they're so used, like you said, managing a process. They'd see something is not going well in the field, and their knee-jerk reaction was issue a delay letter to the trade.
Yeah, because that helps.
And I would always be like, hold on a second. I said, I'll write the letter, but is this letter going to be the first time that they become aware that there's the issue? Have we talked to them face to face yet?
Right.
And like, we don't have time for that. Issue the delayed letter. We want to get their office to pay attention. I was like,
Yeah.
why do I don't, their office isn't here building it.
Right.
Do
They're
we,
not going to
do
come
we
do
need
this
their
damn
office?
thing.
I was
You
like,
got it.
I was so annoying, Jesse. So
Because you
annoying.
thought differently, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you understood the human component of the work.
Well, I told you, like, environment is really important. When I first started, I was doing punch list. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd be out in the field 6 to 8 hours a day with the trades,
Yep.
signing things off, either making lists or signing lists off in preparation for architectural mechanical punch. And so I was just like, I got conditioned by the trades. So
Yes.
right on,
Nice.
they had a heavy influence on my thinking, and my parents they were blue collar. My dad was actually a union steward
Okay.
in the UAW, United Auto Workers Union. So we
Yeah, you
used
had
to,
that empathy.
yeah, I could think, I was thinking of them like family. It wasn't, I never had the us versus them.
Mm.
Like you see that struggle here in the book, like even here in the daily huddle, when Alan is telling him about just getting the chairs out of here and making them
Yes.
stand up. He's just
Yes.
creating an environment, and he's relating it to football because he's in Texas. I mean, obviously they love
Yeah.
football. So I mean, he makes the move to make it from the daily meeting to the daily huddle.
Yeah. Little Jedi mind trick going on there. And stand up, like removing the chairs. That's a big deal. And don't just stack them on the wall in the space. Get them out of the damn room because
All the
people
way
will
out.
grab a chair. Get them all the way out, man. Nobody wants to stand around forever, so that will absolutely cut the time
Yeah.
of that huddle.
Unless it's me and you on the show, then I stand for the whole recording because that's how I roll.
No, I got to sit down. If I'm standing up, I got too much energy. And last time we almost broke the internet with all of
Yeah, we
this
did.
glory shining from our faces. I didn't want to have that problem again today.
That's good. You dialed it back.
Yeah, they're not ready for all of it. So Alan shows up with the magical tool, right? He has this, what is it? What do they call it? Laminate to put over some plans so that people can. I mean, the word I use because I'm simple, right? Is point and touch. Put something on the wall where we can point and touch to it.
Point and touch.
Yeah, go point and touch so that we know what we're talking about. Have you ever met those people that give directions this way? I need go down the street, and where you see the big tree that's kind of hanging over to the left, turn a right there, and then there's one house. They got a dog house, and there's usually a dog. He stands on top of the dog house. There, you want to turn left. So some people they think of their space in monuments, and if you give that person directions as in north, south, east, and west, you're speaking a different language, man.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can point and touch, you short circuit that breaking communication. That's the value of putting that stuff up on the wall. Point and touch. Don't make any assumptions. This is exactly the space that we're talking about. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. Like, for people with good memories, they even train them to think about a mind palace. So you think about a structure in your mind and you imagine with high visual because that's how we think visually.
Yes.
And we're out there in the real world trying to make something happen. We're taking, an idea, some words, and making it real. Why not use pictures and make it easier?
We process images far faster than we process words, right? We can see a picture of it, boom, done. We like to put things in words. Have you ever struggled typing up an email that offered directions on how to access something in a file folder on a drive
Oh, yeah.
somewhere? That's a 10-minute email. And you already, every time you edit it, 2 or 3 people really aren't going to understand that. So then you
Nope.
reword it and like, damn it, I lost the other 5 people. So I started you want to hear a little hack that I started?
Sure.
I started recording videos of that. So I'll pop open my Teams and I'll walk through the drive. And as I'm walking through, where to click and where to go, I'll speak and say, okay, open up this folder, click on this file. This one has instructions. This one has da 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 da. Has cut my phone calls and further explanation via email by 80%.
Oh,
Yes,
that's a
huge,
time savings.
huge time savings. And you know what? My email time, 0. I don't even write the
Ooh,
email.
that is lovely. Now, when you said that Alan shows up with the tool, I was thinking of the picture on page 32. And I
Yep.
just love how Joe and Keon had this illustrated with the teacher has the power tool and the grasshopper,
Mm,
the young grasshopper just gets to hold the laminate to the wall, doesn't actually get to do
yep.
anything. It's
Yep.
like, listen here, little Sam, you're not old enough to use this power tool yet.
So what comes across to me is he's introducing the concept, the tool, the idea via they're having a different conversation. And Sam probably doesn't, he's like, oh, we're talking, and this guy's putting something on the wall. And so he's helping them integrate into the idea via conversation while also physically interacting with it, which for
Oh, yeah.
construction workers, we're tactile learners. As we interact with it physically, that experience anchors in our mind and we can take it forward.
Now you mentioned that, I didn't even realize he's getting Sam to buy into this
Right.
by making him part of the installation. So
You
now it's
got it.
like, it's not Alan's laminate on the wall.
It's
It's
theirs.
it's Sam's. And you know what?
Yep.
This happened to me once, Jesse. I was on a job that we're struggling for time, and I offered in my goody two shoes helper mode, I'll come and
Yes.
hang. I'll hang all the boards that you'll need for last planner.
Yep. Yep.
I'll come in with my own tools, my own screws, and I did all that, and it didn't work with the buy-in. And I
Hmm.
thought, because that was their excuse, like, oh, we don't have room in our trailer.
Sure you do.
And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you
Right.
do. I was like, here. I was like, what if I do this? And I just told the superintendent, I'll do this for you since you're busy out there firefighting.
Hmm.
And then you can just use this stuff. And
Yep.
it's not effective. I should have been like, you help me install this, or I'll help you. Like, I'll get the material. You're a master carpenter. How would you install this, sir?
No, that's powerful, right? Make them a part of the, or include them in the creation of the thing. Here's an idea that I practice, and it really just for me it's contingent on where the person's at. You know, I think about when I learned how to tie my tennis shoes. At first, my parents had to tie them for me, so they did that for a period of time, and then they would tie them with me, right? They'd guide my hands or correct me when I was off or whatever. And then they let me tie my shoes by myself under supervision. And then they just told me, tie your damn shoes. And so as a coach, we got to understand where people are at. Sometimes we got to tie their shoes with them for them, but we got to make the expectation clear. I'm tying your shoes for you right now because you've never done it before.
Right.
Here in the very near future, we're going to tie your shoes together. So pay attention. I think for me anyways, it served me well. But it's also eliminated, kind of, you alluded to it earlier, back right out of the gates when I really thought I was coaching people. I was the dictator. Do this. I'd show up. Nope, you're doing it wrong. Here's
Yeah.
a 5-page packet. Read it and do it that way. Duh. That didn't like. Can you believe
Yeah.
that didn't work very well?
Oh, I'm shocked.
I didn't get invited back to the party. I didn't get invited to the top out parties. I didn't get the caps and the shirts. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why don't people love me? I'm helping them.
No, that's a good point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm doing it like Alan. Like, you bring people involved, and you're right. So, some people, and sometimes like some teams get frustrated. Like, I was with the team; they had 40 people on the team, Jesse,
Oh,
and we're
that's a
going
big
through.
thing.
They were like, it's a big team, and that's just 40 people in the GC squad.
Mm.
There's still like another, there are
Oh,
400
hundreds. Yes.
400 trade partners on that.
Yes.
And I said to them, let's understand what you guys want to do. They didn't have an answer. 40 people. So I was like, okay, I can't dictate a solution. We played together for a week.
Yep.
And at the end we made some tweaks and changes. And one of the people said, why didn't you just come and make us do last planner system? Actually said it, like they were kind of disappointed that I just didn't. I was like, I've done that and failed with people. And it's just like in this book, like one of the first things, so that team was doing play of the day, which
Mm-hmm.
is like a spin-off variation of the daily huddle. But
Right.
it's kind of like what we're seeing here in this chapter with having the visual and having people point And what'd you call it? Point and show?
Point and touch, baby. Point
Point
and
and
touch.
touch. It's kind of like the point and touch. And one of the things, because I'd already read The Lean Builder, I was watching how this play of the day was unfolding before my eyes, as I'd seen it so many times before. And it was invented by a general contractor, which I will not name.
Yep.
But they have mandatory Saturdays. So for those of you in the general contracting community, there's only one that has mandatory Saturdays when you first start working. Only the superintendent was allowed to point and touch, Jesse.
Oh,
By design. How do you
no
think the
bueno.
engagement was in the room?
Horrible.
People
Like
weren't talking.
Yeah.
And I was like, I talked to the superintendent afterwards. I'm like, these meetings are probably really frustrating, aren't they? He's like, yeah, people don't talk. They're on their phones. And I said, you know, you asked me to tell you something that I saw. I was like, one thing that I saw is I never saw you ask a question. And the superintendent was just like,
Ooh.
you know, mouth open.
Wow.
Questions are powerful. So
Yes.
you can hand them a marker and say, here, why don't you show me? And let them come up. You call out the order that you want to go in the flow. So you're still in control of the order because you're got that higher level. You're looking at the entire flow of all the jobs. You see all the interconnections that some of the people don't see.
Right.
Because they're too close to work. I was like, why don't you just have them come up in order, hand them the marker and let them point and show people where they're at. Try that and see if that's different than what you're doing now, if you want to. I was like, or you can just get pissed off every day at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, you can keep doing it the same way. If you really like that
Yeah.
pain, you're free to continue. You know, when you said you didn't ask questions, like I almost choked because I'm guilty of that also, right? Even when my point in sharing this is it's very easy to get stuck in our comfort zone and what we've practiced for so long. There's times where I'll facilitate or I'm engaged with the team, and then at the end I'm like, man, I didn't get a lot of interaction. And every now and then I'll record it. I'll catch video of it because everybody gets to watch me, and I like to be able to have that opportunity of watching me too. Now I'll review it to mostly listen to it to kind of find my little ticks or the weird things that I want to improve on the next time. Sometimes I'll say something really smart, which is abnormal, but I want to remember it to say it again. And on a couple of times where I was kind of pissy that, man, I didn't get a lot of interaction. Well, guess what? I never stopped moving my damn mouth. So whose fault was it? It was me. Or I would ask the question like, so what do you think? Okay, well, let me answer that for you. Like, I didn't even give them space to answer, you know? Fantastic point. If you're not asking questions, you're not inviting people into the conversation. Why would they join?
They won't. As a facilitator, I learned early on, watching some really masterful facilitators, and then recognizing that when the thing is like in flow with everybody in the conversation, the facilitator's barely talking. They only talk enough to get people to talk and engage. That's a skill. It takes some practice.
Back to the book, you know, they're up there with markers, highlighters. Everybody has their own color, which is phenomenal because it's clear. We know who's the colors are assigned. Everybody's identifying where they're going to be working that day. We get an understanding rapidly. It reminds me of one superintendent, super skilled, super experienced, sat in the meeting the whole day, folded his arm. It was a debrief. It wasn't the whole day. I was sharing my observations and my recommendations to see what they would be willing to commit to doing. And he just sat there with his arms folded. At the end, he's like, you know what? I don't know what the hell they pay you for, but I think all this kindergarten bullshit is just a waste of time. And I kind of laughed. I'm like, you know, honestly, that level of direct communication, I value immensely.
Me too, Jesse.
Right?
Me
like,
too.
please
you can
tell
react
me,
to that.
Yes, please don't nod your head and then go leave the room and say you're not going to do it. Let's just talk about it right now. But what stuck with me, and that was a beautiful story. Things ended up really, really great for that team. We had a good time out there. But what landed that stuck with me is the kindergarten comment. So after I was like, I say, hey, you said kindergarten. I thought because I was maybe my tone was like I was talking down to them. He's like, no, dude, like you have all these colors and stickies. Like it reminds me of kindergarten. I was like, oh, got it. You know, when I think about trade partners, the discomfort of going to the board for their first time and drawing on the wall, I've got to take that into account. It's
Yeah.
extremely abnormal and it feels almost
Extreme.
juvenile to do this. But, once they break through that discomfort, of course, you and I both know it's like gold. It's automatic. They wish they do it on every project.
Pays dividends. Once you have that
Totally.
experience, you can't go backwards. I've been to some big rooms where the teams have like the walls are just plastered with stuff. And it's like going to a museum or like
Mm.
going to an art, and you're looking at all this cool stuff, and you can get a really high sense of what's going on like in seconds. Like I don't even have to even ask that many questions just to get my head in where the project's at. And then you go to some projects and you're like, oh, Nurse Cratchit's not going to let you put anything up on the walls. Like it's just locked down, it's
Yes.
sterile, and there's
Yes.
just nothing. There's not even like you look at people's desks and you can't even tell that they're human. It's just like there's nothing of any kind of remote signature of a real person. And
Right.
it's not because the people don't want to, it's because they can't. It's discouraged.
I've seen jobs. Well, no, let me take it back. As a trade partner, we started, like I said, we were doing at some point, I transitioned from superintendent to trainer, right? In-house trainer. I had put some training together. It was transitional training to transition people from journeyman, leadmen to foremen, and then transition foremen to superintendents. And so naturally, Last Planner system was built into that. All the
Of
foremen, like
course.
it was talking about expectations, the expectations of the role, and showing them how to use it. And because we were having a lot of success with it, the organization invested in iPads for all of the foremen and all the superintendents. Now that's a regular thing. Back when we were doing it, it didn't happen. I mean,
Nope.
GCs were like, "You guys have iPads? I can't even get myself an iPad, right?" So
Yeah.
it was a thing. And then, some of the foremen, they didn't like it, the paperwork.
Right.
They didn't want to fill out the paperwork. You want to know why? They might have been a little bit like me. Like I made a decision to begin a career in the construction industry because I didn't want to read anymore. I didn't want to write anymore. And I sure as hell didn't want to touch a computer. And now all of a sudden they've elevated in their career to a point where it requires them to write and read and use these devices. Anyways, the way I started with them is first on paper. And then the complaint was, well, we bought them these iPads. Why aren't they using these iPads? It's like, guys, I need to get them there, right? We can't jump from
Yeah.
simple addition and subtraction to calculus. Like, let's get comfortable with the process, and then let's introduce the technology. We ended up getting there were, there's always a leader, like the early adopters. Those early
Right.
adopters, we started getting them. Okay, now use your iPad to do it this way. Da 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 da. And that was good. And then all of a sudden it stopped. The foreman like didn't want to do it. And I'm like, why don't y'all want to do it? I was trying to understand. So I went out to their projects and started watching their meetings, and I discovered they were fine doing it, but the project manager or two or three of the project managers
Or all of
would
them.
would beat them up about spelling. They would beat them up about
Oh my gosh.
reformatting the cell size, like grammar. I'm like, God, hold time the hell out. Like
Yeah.
that is not the value, that is not the expertise of these people. And if you want them to learn how to format cells, like you really don't understand what we're here to do. We're here to build this damn building. Nobody
Right.
cares about the stupid format. And I guess the point of all that is, we got to check ourselves. We got to create a space, leaders, right? Foremen, superintendents, project managers, for trade partners. You need to create the space for those people that are learning these new techniques to do it wrong and to do it messy. They're going to get better. They're not here like, okay, you want them to go ahead and be a master cell formatter and grammar and spelling. While they're doing that in the trailer, I need your ass to go out there and rough in that water heater. How's that going to work out? What do you think about that?
Oh man, I almost got punched when I was an intern, Jesse, on that very topic.
Really?
Yeah, one of my jobs, I had to take the daily reports. They were all handwritten. This is back in the 90s. And I had to take those dailies and then type them into our system. It was part of like the, project records retention, and the dailies are used for all kinds of things, mostly nefarious, mostly
Of
not for
course.
good. They had me start coming to the foreman meetings, this part of my development, and they went around the room. They came to me and they're like, "Do you have anything to add?" And I said, "Yeah. If I can't read your daily report, I'm coming back to you and you're going to rewrite it until I can read it."
Oh, let's go, baby. Come on.
Like everybody, I was so mad because there were like 50, I was doing 50 something dailies a day
Oh,
that I type in, and and the superintendent said, "Stay back after the meeting," like in
mm,
a ugly tone, and everybody was just
yep.
like, "Oh," like all the foremen were like,
Ooh,
"Oh,
gonna
we're in
get it.
trouble."
Yes, sir.
Like they knew I was in trouble, and he sat me down, closed the door. He's like, "Close the door." I was like, "Oh crap!" And he asked me, he's like, "What do we pay them to do?"
Yep.
And I said, "Install work." He's like, "What's the date? What's the value of the daily report?" And we had a conversation about what was important, and it wasn't until 15 years later, Jesse,
Mm-hmm.
when I learned that that's a necessary waste. A daily
Ah,
report is a necessary
yes.
waste from the
Yes.
client's perspective
Yes.
of a building client. A daily
Yes.
report means nothing to them. They need to operate a building.
Right.
Those dailies do not add value for them. It's a necessary evil, and we should
Mm-hmm.
minimize it and make it as frictionless as possible.
Yes.
That was a lesson that took, 15 years to really understand.
Well, so would you categorize that as incidental or maintain the distinction as necessary waste?
No, it's necessary waste. Because if
Yeah.
you're doing the things right, if you think about jobs that are successful, no one ever goes back to the daily reports as a reference.
Right. Right.
And if you're communicating appropriately with people,
Yep.
you never look at a daily report. You only
Right.
look at a daily report typically. And, people listening to the show tell me otherwise, but typically only when you're going into litigation.
Right.
And if you're going into a claim situation, I guarantee you it's not because of the grammar of the daily reports. That's just adding context for people that aren't there to
Right.
see what's going on the job, to see that you're not clearing obstacles, you're not removing impediments, that you don't have good flow, your schedule's probably jumping around. There's
Yep.
a whole bunch of things that go wrong when people start to complain in the daily reports. Jason Schroeder, shout out to Jason. Jason, when he goes to a job, one of the first things that he does, Jesse, is he goes to the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
and he opens
Mm-hmm.
up the porta potties and he just looks to see how much graffiti's there. And that's like, I was like, thought like, man, the porta potty is like another daily report.
Yep.
Because if the job's going poorly,
Oh
people are
yeah.
going to write down in the dailies stuff that they don't like, what's going
Yep.
wrong. You're in my way. You said I should be here. It's not ready. And you
Yep.
see that type of language in there. That's a
Yep.
breakdown in communication. That's a warning
Absolutely.
sign. That's a visual indicator, Jesse, that your job's in trouble.
Oh, visual job site. I agree. Here's another amazing thing that's just come up. There's COVID and not recent because it's not recent. The social justice issues that have been on the forefront of a lot of people's minds lately on the jobs that I get to walk on, graffiti has gone to here.
Wow.
Zero. I mean,
Where
we've put
where you've made changes due to social justice. I mean, when you
you
say
got
social
it.
justice, we're talking about racism. For
Right.
those of you that don't speak all the fancy words that Jesse's using.
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, we're talking about racism. And so we put measures into place, committed resources to kill that. That is no longer acceptable. And if it does happen, there's significant consequences to the entire project. And it didn't occur to me how desensitized myself and the rest of our trade partners have become to it, right? Because I'd see it all the time. And sometimes it'd be like, okay, let's go and let's see what the what I used to think of as funny, but like the rudest, most dehumanizing comments I could find on the porta potty wall. And even though we've adapted to that and, like I said earlier, become desensitized to it, it's still like I didn't know how much of an effect it had on me until now. I use porta potties that don't have anything written on the wall. And it's like, it's peaceful.
Right.
That's not to say that nobody has, that type of thinking, but it's no longer okay to display it without consequence. And it's a huge thing. Our trade partners say it. I'll talk to them like, hey man, what can we do? What's something we can improve on? And they'll give me some stuff. I'm like, okay, so what are we doing that you appreciate the most or that makes you feel respected? Almost every time, bathrooms, bathrooms, bathrooms. Yep. So that Jason Schroeder is onto something. Yep. He knows what he's talking about.
That's like another one of my superintendent mentors is a guy named Jeff. And this is super early. I was just a young little PM in training. And Jeff told me, he's like, Felipe, I know you're a project manager, but you can still learn things too. He's like, the two most important things that you need to know about a job is how are you getting material in and out? And he'd actually he took a floor plan and he said, look at this floor plan and you know where this building is. How's this stuff coming in and out? And I had to draw with a pencil on his floor plan. Second most important thing, arguably equally as important. Where do you put the porta johns?
Exactly.
He's like, where are you putting the bathrooms here? He's like, you need to know how many bathrooms you should have for the crews and how often should you clean them?
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know. I never thought about it. And he's like, you need to find that out. And he's like, you can always call the company, the porta john company, and they actually have formulas.
Yep.
And he's like, people figured this out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's some smart people out there.
And he's like, the more often you keep these clean, you're showing respect to the people doing the work. He had it so that we had a porta john on that job. We did not have a special indoor bathroom. And he's like, we're doing this. He's like, we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
He's like, you got to use the porta john just like we have to use the porta john.
That's phenomenal. That is rare. I've had the privilege of working one of our project executives in Denver. And again, it was just a different world. I'm in the trailer. I'm like, where's the bathroom at? And she says, Jesse, porta potties. I was like, really? And she's like, they use them all day. There's no reason why we can't use them all day. I said, 10-4, thank you, ma'am. That's real. That's a big deal. It's a small thing.
Yeah.
But the team recognizes it. More importantly, it creates that team environment. Like we are one team. We have the same facilities. There's no divide. Small thing, but big impact. So back to the book.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's some good visual communication too. We could talk about porta johns all day. I like here that they're trying something new and it's just not like automatic work.
Yep.
It's like stuff's blowing up in Sam's face. And I think, some of it is he's not making the shift.
Well, I'm at the parking lot point. So I'm probably, like always, I'm ahead, right?
Yeah, you are.
Too fast. So that's the one that stood out to me because, again, new behavior, but using that parking lot, like, okay, meeting's over. If you got something on the parking lot, hang back to the respecting, back to making it visual. The act of writing it on the wall, writing the issue down for everybody, even though you have a, steel trap memory, the physical act of writing that down on the wall as they tell you that there is an issue is another measure and sign of respect. I heard you. What you said matters so much so that I'm going to write it down here so that we all can see it and we make sure we don't forget it. So that's powerful. The other end of that is it lets everybody else go back to work because they got, I hear a lot of times like, you got to keep these meetings short because you're going to lose the trades. The attention span is short and sure. But you know what? They got a shit ton of work to do.
Now, hold on a second. as a GC, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I don't think the trades have a short attention span. I think the meetings suck and they're boring.
Thank you.
So let me just call a spade a spade.
10-4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. They suck. They're boring. They're not providing any value. And trying to blame it on the trades, that's just a scapegoat. You're just lying to yourself.
Yeah, you're just not a good meeting facilitator. Maybe you're not. And if, superintendents out there, I've seen some of the better ones that recognize, where their communication is more effective, often one-on-one. They might bring in heaven forbid, a project manager away from his computer or her computer and come and talk and help facilitate the meeting so the superintendent can stay engaged with the people. When you have to run a meeting and facilitate a meeting and take notes, you're trying to do three things all at once, Jesse. It's too much.
No, you need to have a scribe. Best practice, have a scribe, have a driver, have a facilitator, and have a subject matter expert. Like those roles, if you can get to that point, your meetings are going to click.
You have a team. It's not a solo sport. It's a team game.
Another thing, if that I would recommend selfishly, if you're starting these practices early, is bring in an impartial, maybe neutral person. It can be from your organization. You don't have to go spend a whole bunch of money, but
Yeah.
I do know some consultants out there that would do a great job for you. But I think
Yeah.
you know them too, huh, Felipe?
Yeah.
So some of the added value that you really don't know until you experience is they don't have the emotional connection to the job. They don't
Right.
have all those stresses and pressures. So in facilitating a meeting, or oftentimes when you're the superintendent or project manager, you have a deep connection to the job and the success and the failure and the flow and all of those things. And so that can betray you. And if you have that objective facilitator, they're just seeking to serve the team to get closer to where they want to be. And they don't get blindsided by their own personal connection to the outcomes.
You jump right over this guy, Elmo.
Oh, that's right, Elmo. Yes,
Jump
they
right over
actually used
Elmo.
it.
Yeah, I got the Elmo here for you. I got the fattest Elmo I could find. The
Well, you know
super
why
fat.
I jumped over him, right?
Because you've been hit by Elmos before?
Yes. Can you believe that? Is that
Yeah.
surprising to you?
If I sent this Elmo to Renee, how many times a show would he
Oh
hit you
man,
with it?
all the time. I get in my preacher mode, and the eyes. They need to do something about the eyes, because if they hit you just right,
Yeah.
does he have those solid eyes?
They're stuffed, but they're stuffed with something hard. It could be a
Yeah.
reportable.
Yes. Yes.
If your eye meets his eye,
Yes.
you're gonna be in pain.
Yes.
And they're rough too. They'll take some skin off of your cornea for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I got hit with the Elmo, it was the owner's rep threw the Elmo. She was standing at my side, and she's
That's
like, "I'm
awesome.
gonna demonstrate this Elmo." So she throws it. I don't even see it because it's out of my peripheral vision, and it hits me like this. It
Bam.
just knocks my glasses right off my face into a parking
Oh.
lot because we were doing a stand-up in a parking lot. I looked at her and I was like, "Thank you for demonstrating how not to throw an Elmo at people."
But that does make things fun, right? And it gives people a mechanism. Like, I know listening to people's grandstand, it causes me to feel some kind of way about them. And then I
Right.
see them and they open their mouth and I'm rolling my eyes like, oh man, here we go again, right? We're gonna
Here
hear that
we go.
stupid stuff. And so it starts eroding the respect I have for the individual. And me calling them out doesn't help, right? Because that's kind of and when I say calling them out, I mean like in Jesse land, what I would say is like, dude, cut it. We've heard your crap before. That's not
Yeah.
respectful, but that's the language I speak. But if I hit them with the Elmo, like all of a sudden I have a mechanism to act on whatever's not good for the team. It's a playful way. And guess what? I don't think less of him anymore because I was able to do something about it live and in the moment.
Right. And Elmo is an acronym because we love acronyms in construction.
Oh,
And
yes.
people have termed it enough. Let's move on. And they hit you with an
Mhm.
Elmo with a smile and a laugh, and everybody laughs, but it's reciprocal. You can be hit
Correct.
with the Elmo, but you can also throw the Elmo.
It will
It
help.
levels the whole playing field. Like we're all on this team thing, and
Yes.
it's okay to throw a stuffed toy at people. It's okay.
Yes.
Just don't hit them in the face. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't knock my glasses off, Heather.
Calling her out. Come on, Heather. You got to wear face shields to that meeting. That's a meeting, baby. Full contact huddle. You lost zero sex appeal, Felipe.
Yeah. It can't be lost, Jesse. When you have this much oozing, you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
you can't
You got
diminish
plenty
it.
to spare. Plenty to
But
spare.
I liked here where, in the book they talk about that parking lot, and because Sam is just starting out, the parking lot's just in his notebook. It's not that high visual
Mhm.
parking lot, but he's going through the right process. Like he's
Yes.
stepping into the process. Like he's telling Roberto, you got to come back because we want to unpark. He doesn't even say unpark the cars, but I say often, let's unpark the cars. We parked a bunch
Yep.
of cars. Let's unpark them with the people we need to so that you can keep moving. But like you said, next level parking lot is put it visual so people can park their own cars.
Yes.
And with thanks to COVID, sometimes we're using collaboration boards digitally.
Yep.
And I'll
Yep.
tell people as a facilitator, like, that's a great point. Can you put that in the parking lot so we can come back to it at the end? I don't want to lose that. Let's make sure we get to that, and we make sure we unpark it.
Got to do it. You can't ignore it. I mean, I've done it before where I wrote stuff on the parking lot, ended the meeting, and just rookie mistake, right? I forgot to go back to it. And luckily, the relationships were deep enough that one of the team members said, "Hey, bro, like, why the hell did you write it on the wall if we're not going to talk about it?" Oh, damn it, my bad. Right? Come back. Come back. Come back. Parking lot. Parking lot.
Yeah.
But,
You're
but
so
it's
excited
okay.
that your timer went off and your meeting
Yeah,
ended
like,
on time. You're
yes,
like, all right,
yeah,
walk
done.
away.
Yes, everybody's free to go. It's definitely a discipline. The pressure of time, right? 15
Yeah,
minutes. I'd love it for me, and you probably experienced this being a coach. It would be great that the end of the meeting, the scheduled time really meant that you were done and you can go do the next thing. But
right.
that's never done, right? Like you
Never.
finish the meeting and there are those side coaching conversations, a little bit of debrief, a little bit of follow up, a little bit of exploration, deeper understanding. And so before, like, I didn't know that at the time. So, like, okay, 15 minutes, boom, peace out, I'm done. And I wasn't done. So now, obviously, I'll block out an extra hour or two, depending on the situation, to just be present so that I can continue the conversation whenever the
Right.
opportunity presented itself.
Now that you're blocking that time, if you're with those people and you're physically with them, I'm going to test you, Jesse. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking to somebody and your cell phone rings. Do you
Mm.
A, answer it, or B, just let it keep ringing?
That phone does not ring because I turned the damn thing off. I've had many, many conversations over the past 5 to 8 years about, man, you never answer your phone, right? Or my favorite one is the sarcastic one. Like, man, if I'm drowning, I know not to call you. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like call 911, fool. Don't be calling me. And so,
I love that, Jesse.
so what I explained to them is, when you and I are talking, how do you feel? Like, what do you mean? I was like, well, when you and I are in a meeting or we're talking right now, how do you feel? Am I giving you the attention that you need? Do you feel like I'm focused on you? Do you feel like I'm listening to you? Like, yeah. I was like, okay. Do you see me distracted by anything else except for you? Like, no. That's okay. Do you appreciate that? Like, hell yeah. That's kind of why I come to you often, because I know that if I talk to you, you're going to give me the time that I need. Awesome. I do that with everybody. And so what that means is I'm ignoring everybody else in that moment. Even though I could tell myself, like, okay, I'll leave my phone on just in case, that phone ringing, it's got a powerful gravity, man. And
Yeah.
and so I will get pulled to it, because if it rings, the few brain cells that I have, one or two of them is thinking about, man, I wonder what that was. Who was it? Just turning it off. I don't even know what's happening, and I'll check my stuff once I jump in the truck and head to the next place. It's helped me out tremendously. I do, I'll get my hand slapped every now and then for not being as responsive as, the emergency that was happening. And there's this other funny thing that happens when I call them back. Somehow that emergency has gone away. It's magic, man. Turn that damn phone off. It'll help you focus. And I found the more focused I am, the better quality I produce.
And that's another great visual indicator to the people you're talking to, Jesse. Just like here in the book, things start to fall apart. They're using the visual communication board to plan the work and talk about where they are in the field now.
Yep.
And then they have a field issue. And my very favorite electrician, Roberto, is getting pissed off in the field
Yes.
because Hank is burying some of his work. He's jumping ahead with good intentions. He's like, oh, this area is open. And because we're coordinating at a higher level now, I was able to get ahead on this area that I had planned was going to take longer because I'm not used to getting areas ready for me appropriately.
Right.
So he's jumping up to another floor, and Roberto's like, I've got home runs to run here, and I'm not going to be able to, I can't get to the ceiling now. And he
Yep.
starts getting upset, and I think Sam hears it and doesn't actually have to even get involved. He just hears it, and they work it out because Hank acknowledges, yes, Roberto, I you know what? You're right. I remember seeing you say that you were going to be at this level. My bad. I'll have my guys take the duck down. And Roberto was just like frozen. Like he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even react. Like, my bad. That's
What?
a
Who
phrase
are
you
you?
never hear in construction. How
Yes.
often have you heard somebody say my bad or
No,
you're right?
dude. Yeah,
God.
I've heard it so often that every time I hear somebody tell me, "Oh yeah, you're right," I'll act like I can't hear. I'm like, "What? I'm sorry, you broke up. I didn't hear you. You're right." What?
You're like,
And they're
hold on,
like,
let me
"Shut
hit
up."
record. Speak into this
One more
microphone.
time. Just say it one more time, please. And then Roberto says, like, you know what? You don't have to take it all down. Get it to this point. I can work through it, but let me get ahead and then we can continue forward. Those are the outcomes that you can achieve by practicing and learning how to do these things. And I
Right.
say practice because it's likely going to be very new to at least 50% of the people involved.
Or if we just use your statistic, Jesse, 97% of the people.
Thank you. You like that?
I love that
Like
stat, man. I'm anchored
it's,
on it. And, thinking the
yes.
same in my experiences too. I haven't done the math yet, and I can't do the math and talk at the same time because I can only do one thing at a time. I'm probably somewhere around there too.
And they worked it out.
Right.
There were no fights in the parking lot. There was no cussing, no graffiti, right? No bad mouthing in the porta potty. They worked it out and kept working as a team.
And that's where I made a note in my book to ask, and you just beautifully delivered. All those things that
Hmm.
you said there were no in
Yep.
traditional projects, that's the things that happen next. Or you have people damaging each other's work. You forgot to mention that one, Jesse.
Oh man. So I've heard stories, never experienced
From
it firsthand,
From a friend, right, Jesse?
from a friend of, taking the control boxes off of their scissor lift, unplugging their scissor lifts, taking the keys out of their equipment, some devious behavior out there in retaliation for that sort of thing. And as a plumber, dude, you don't know how many Gatorade bottles I've found in my pipe. And that doesn't happen by accident, you
No.
know? Those all of those things were a result of the way we treated each other. The environment that we were in
Right.
was combative. And guess what? I like it. It's very it's I'm learning to get used to being on projects. I mean, almost not almost. I'm also jealous on the projects that I've been able to see here in the last few years. Like people, they're friends. Like they eat lunch. Like different trades eat lunch
Right.
together. They know each other's names. They know their all their storia, right? Like their
Yeah.
chisme at home. And I'm like, man, why didn't I have friends like that? But it's a function of me being a big old jerkhead, right? But also a function of the environment. The environment is such that it facilitates that. People aren't losing controllers off of their scissor lifts, or their forklift is out of diesel, or all of those things that just kind of happen on a tough job. Those things don't happen anymore.
Right. That's one of the things that Joe said on the podcast when we were talking about the book. And he said, I used to be a jerk. That sets the whole tone for how the site's going to operate. And I've had a lot of conversations with owners too, and owners reps. And I said, if you have a bad day on the weekend and you come to your project and you bring that bad day with you, you bring that drama to the site, that drama infects the entire site. And
Yes.
it's very hard to overcome that. Like if you're so I'm not defending GCs, but
Right.
if a owner is being brutal to you, which is very, very common for owners to just crap all over the project management team and the superintendents included, that kind of is super easy to just trickle down to the next level.
Yes.
And people are going to get that same treatment. So I tell owners, like, if you want to have a happier job with the results that you want, you need to first treat people with respect. Like,
It
don't forget,
absolutely is.
owner, if you could have done it yourself, you wouldn't have hired us.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to that statement you made earlier, right? Like you're complaining about them, but you hired them.
Yep. You hired us. Our number was just so perfect.
No, you're right. I think it's hard. I mean, it's something that I've been trying to be conscious and aware of is my words, my tone, my attitude, my energy. is magnified by my responsibility and position. If I think outside of myself, same thing with project managers, GCs, owners, foremen, like all of the above. And it's hard to come to terms with it, right? Because, a lot of us have the imposter syndrome. We don't feel like we're quite adequate to be at the role that we're in. And that's fair. But guess what? Everybody else around you believes 100% you're there because you got it together. You got it going on. You know what you're doing. And so the attitude, the energy that you portray, though it may seem minuscule to you, to everybody on the job that's further downstream, closer to the work, it impacts them tremendously because it's magnified by your responsibility, your authority, and your title.
I mean, you just brought me to page 40 to close out the chapter after over an hour and a half of talking about one chapter. Do not disappoint, Jesse. Sam, we've got that quote as Roberto and I think it's Hank. Yeah, Roberto and Hank.
Yep.
They go short of just hugging each other in the field because that would be awkward in front of their crews. I don't think they'd be able to.
No, they would never come back from that ever.
Never live that down. At least they smiled, appreciated each other, and Roberto apologized for losing his temper. And Sam finally experiences some joy, and he didn't have to get in the middle and referee it. And then Joe and Keon give us a little bit of nuggets of how the meetings are getting smaller. They're ending on time, and people are starting to cooperate voluntarily on their own.
Watch out.
The final thing is still Sam thinking that, as a negative, he's thinking things aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And where this expectation of perfection comes from, I have no idea, Sam, but I've seen many a superintendent, many a project manager think that it's going to be perfect or fall in love with their plans and think that their plans are perfect. And I'm like, plans are a model of the terrain, a map at best. It's not the terrain. It's not the project. Fall in love with the actual thing, not the representation of the thing.
Yes.
It's kind of contradictory to this chapter, but we use those visuals to help us get out there. Some people even take it a step further and go do some of these meetings at the site. And especially if you're early on and it's just a couple of trades, why would you drag people into an office when you can just be in the field and talk about it at the spot?
A perfect example of that. I was on a call Thursday with a team from Dallas. Man, they're freaking killing it, right? They beautiful job. Everybody loves each. I mean, it's an amazing environment, and they put a lot of effort to getting there. And one of the things he was talking about is they did exactly that. They had a little office space that was, you had to walk about half a block to get to, and they used to have their huddles and constraint meetings in there. But they've decided to relocate in the building because guess what? Now all the work is happening on floors 4, 5, and 6. Where's all the workers? There's 3 people in the office. Let's go the other direction. The issues that usually take a day or 2 to resolve are getting resolved on the spot. And when issues are getting resolved on the spot, what are we getting?
Speed and flow.
You got it, baby. You got it, man. It was beautiful to hear that. The flow,
magical
baby.
Flow. Love that flow.
You ever seen The Last Dragon?
Of course I have.
Okay, I was going to say, please tell me you have. When you have flow, you may not know it, but you got that glow, baby. Got that glow.
And that's perfect transition, Jesse, to the next chapter. Just foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with us for this time. We're going to talk about the 8 wastes, the things that impede and hinder flow. Because if you can't see it, you don't know what's holding you back.
Yeah, the most dangerous waste is the waste we do not see. Looking forward to it, my friend.
Me too. Shout out to all the people listening to the show, subscribing. We love you, subscribers. People that just jump on and don't subscribe but listen anyway, love you too, just as much. Jesse and I love all the comments. I love the comments that you all give Learnings and Missteps, and Jesse gets to shout them out. I would love to get some comments too to shout out to folks, and the best way to get my attention is LinkedIn direct messaging.
Dude, anyway, right? LinkedIn, comments on Apple, YouTube, put it on the porta potty. Don't get in trouble. Right?
Yeah, put on the porta potty, take a picture, and send it to Jesse.
Yeah, and send it. That would be like, well, maybe I might get in trouble for that one. Like, I'm sure you feel the same way, Felipe. The comments that I get are super meaningful. They really mean a ton to me. Like the fact that people are even taking time to listen to whatever's coming out of my mouth,
Right.
that's a big deal. And to be able to have the opportunity to interact with the folks is what I'm really looking forward to, right? Getting that comment is fantastic. I'm like, okay, like, look, mom, I'm doing good. It helps put gas in the tank. But like LinkedIn, man, preferably if you could hit me up on LinkedIn and start a conversation, tell me I'm full of it, whatever. That's beautiful. I mean, y'all already heard me say I don't have a lot of friends. So please give me a comment.
And actually, I got a screenshot from a friend who's an executive at one of the companies that used to work at, Jesse. He sent me a screenshot this week. He's like, Felipe, I turned my car on,
Okay.
and Amazon Music was recommending my podcast to him. And I was
Nice.
like, snap.
Yeah.
He didn't know that I had a podcast. And I was like, that's because you don't call me. Because if you'd call me within 5 minutes, I'm going to say, hey, did you check out my podcast?
You can't help it, right? Like you just
can't
want to
help
help
it.
people.
Yep. I finally got my mom to start listening to the show, Jesse. It took me 2 seasons. But I got mom listening to some of the shows now.
Yeah, mom listened to it right out of the gate. And here's how I knew. She said, mijo, you don't have to cuss that much. Damn it. You listen to the show. I mean, thank you, but damn it, I got in trouble. I got caught.
Yeah. We love the comments. We love the feedback. We do take it to heart, Jesse, don't we? And we make the show better.
100%. Especially the tough feedback, right? Because that's what helps me get better.
And the skeptics out there are thinking that this stuff's too hard to implement. You're right. It's too hard for you.
Woo! Gangsta! 10, scared man can't win.
You don't have to do it by yourself. You can get some inspiration from a book. I know even Keon and Joe, they respond to comments on social media as well. They've got we'll pump out the Lean blog. Again, there's a lot of stuff on the Lean blog. People have contributed to the Lean blog and shared things. There are resources out there. Shout out to Steve, who's working in Texas, not too far from you, Jesse.
All right.
He works at a small GC company, less than 30 people. And he told me he had breakfast with Joe, and I said, I'm not surprised that you and Joe had to eat something. You know? And he said that Joe actually helped him and gave him some advice and some guidance, and he was just like beside himself. And the people that are into this type of stuff, we are happy to share our experiences with you.
What I'd like to achieve is just leave the place better than I found it. If I can do that with you, that's gravy, baby. That's extra.
So this is the part of the show, Jesse, where we say, cue the music, get the show closed down, and get ready and recharge for the next episode.
Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode's impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You've been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.